Chapter 1, Anya, the family here hopes you'll come back home soon. Your parents have been searching for you for so many years, and now that they've finally found you, they're desperate to see you. Anya Sterling's fingers, resting on her lap, tightened, the knuckles turning white from the pressure. After a long moment, she replied bitterly, "All right, next week then. You've finally come around. If you need anything, just tell your brother. I'll handle all the arrangements for your return immediately." But the Sterling family did take you in for so long, and I hear that Mr. Sterling has been very good to you. Do you need me to talk to him? No, don't, Anya quickly refused, a dull ache spreading through her heart. I'll talk to him myself. Just as she hung up, a commotion erupted ahead. Anya's gaze was drawn to it. When she saw clearly, her expression changed drastically, and she hurried over. The small flower bed she had meticulously cared for was now a complete mess. Some of the pale purple roses that had fallen to the ground were trampled into the mud. At a glance, most of the bushes were left with only bare stems. The culprit was a young woman in a white dress, about the same age as Anya, a bright smile on her fair, pretty, oval face. At that moment, she was cutting across the flower bed to get to the few surviving blooms. "Stop it," Anya trembled with anger, rushing over and grabbing the young woman's wrist. The young woman nearly lost her balance, a wreath woven from pale purple roses still in her hand. Seeing Anya's furious face, she shivered, feigning terror. "Anya, why are you so angry?" Anya fought the urge to slap her, her voice growing colder. "Everyone knows this flower bed is mine, the thing I care about most. Who gave you permission to destroy it?" The young woman blinked, then looked as if she were about to cry. I didn't know. It was Chris who said he wanted to see a wreath I made. I saw the flowers here were so beautiful, so I came to pick them." "I'm so sorry, Anya. I'll kneel and beg for your forgiveness. Please don't be angry, and please don't hit me." Sobbing, the young woman began to lower herself to the ground. Anya frowned deeply, trying to pull her away. "If you're going to kneel, get out of my flower bed to do it. Don't ruin my flowers." "Ouch!" The young woman yanked her arm free, breaking Anya's hold, and tumbled into the flower bed. Sharp thorns instantly scratched her fair skin, leaving thin red lines on her face. Anya froze, and before she could react, someone shoved her hard from behind. She stumbled, nearly falling. When she looked up, she saw a familiar tall figure. Christopher Sterling's usually cool, handsome face was contorted with an uncharacteristic panic, his dark eyes filled with worry. He carefully lifted the young woman from the flower bed as if she were a precious treasure. Ordinarily meticulous about cleanliness, he now paid no heed to the mud staining the young woman's white dress. The scene before her seared Anya's eyes. Christopher looked up, his dark eyes sharp and icy as he glared at Anya, his expression full of disgust as if looking at a stranger. He gave Anya almost no chance to speak. Christopher's cold reprimand rang out. "I truly don't understand what Willow could have possibly done to offend you so deeply that you'd act so viciously, as if you wanted to destroy her face." With that single sentence, Anya felt as if a sharp knife had brutally gouged her heart, the stabbing pain instantly spreading throughout her body. Something seemed lodged in her throat, the corners of her eyes reddened, and she looked at him, feeling wronged and helpless. It was the first time in all these years that her Uncle Chris, who had doted on her for so long, had called her vicious. Perhaps she should have understood sooner. Christopher didn't love her. Worse, he resented her for harboring feelings she shouldn't have for him. Yet Willow Goodwin had only been by his side for 3 months. He would rather favor Willow than believe her, the girl he had raised by his side for over a decade. The presence or absence of love was so painfully obvious. Still unwilling to accept it, Anya asked, her voice trembling, "Uncle Chris, those purple roses, we planted them together. Have you forgotten?" Chapter 2, It's my fault, I've wronged Anya. I'll go and kneel to apologize to her. She nestled in Christopher Sterling's embrace, appearing humble, but her eyes held a glint of provocation. "As long as Anya doesn't kick me out, she can vent her anger however she likes. You're the only one I can rely on, Chris." Anya's fingers dug into her palms, a storm of bitterness and anger raging within her. She almost lost control and lunged to pull Willow away. But then she met Christopher's cold, emotionless dark eyes, and it was as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over her. Christopher carelessly tossed the wreath Willow held onto the ground. "They're just flowers. Nothing worth you apologizing for." He glanced at Anya unhappily. "Willow is a guest. I've noticed you really enjoy targeting her. If you like these flowers, I'll have someone send them to your room every day. Can you stop making a scene?" "So," Anya asked, the words catching in her throat, "even if we planted them together with our own hands, for Willow's sake, they can be sacrificed, right?" She clenched her jaw, searching Christopher's face for any flicker of emotion, but found none. His frown deepened, a hint of impatience in his eyes. Christopher didn't answer. He turned to Willow in his arms, his gaze softening considerably. "I'll take you to get some ointment. It's not good for a girl to have scars on her face." "Okay," Willow murmured, nuzzling against his chest. She was clearly the favored one. Anya's eyes reddened, a self-mocking look creeping into them. Until Christopher carried Willow past her and gradually disappeared into the distance, she still hadn't received a single word of response from him. Anya's rigidly straight back finally sagged, as if all strength had left her. The moment she lowered her head, tears dripped unexpectedly onto the soil. Such incidents had become frequent in the 2 months since Willow Goodwin had arrived at the Sterling residence. And she had been deluding herself, unwilling to admit that Christopher had already developed feelings for Willow. Anya had been separated from her parents since she was a child. She was fortunate enough to be taken in by Christopher Sterling, growing up by his side. Although he adopted her, the age difference between them was only 7 or 8 years. In the past, before the Sterling family became so powerful, they had weathered many hardships together, relying on each other. Despite no blood relation, Christopher had been incredibly attentive and considerate towards her. As she grew older, he doted on her, practically carrying her in his hands. Anya, too, had never been willing to acknowledge Christopher as her elder. She called him Chris both publicly and privately. For the first 20 years of her life, she had lived willfully and freely under Christopher's protection. When did things start to change? Perhaps after Willow Goodwin appeared. She was the sister of Christopher's best friend, who had passed away due to illness, leaving Willow as the sole remaining member of the Goodwin family. Christopher had said that taking care of an orphan child entrusted to him was something he couldn't refuse. But as soon as the young woman arrived, she began to cling to Christopher. Anya grew jealous and, in a fit of pique, confessed her love to Christopher right in front of Willow. The confession was a grand affair, and everyone in their social circle knew about it. Willow later ran out crying. Christopher, showing Anya no mercy, directly rejected her and made her kneel in the study for 3 days and 3 nights, until she agreed to change her form of address to Uncle Chris. Only then did he let her out. He didn't love her. Such a cruel reality. And foolish Anya was only now beginning to understand. Because of her stupid confession, they couldn't even be like family anymore. Over the past 2 months, Christopher had grown increasingly cold. Well, it didn't matter. She was leaving soon anyway. Chapter 3, Anya stood in the same spot for a long time until night fell and the evening breeze swept over her. She suddenly realized that in this vast world, she had always been alone. It was dinner time. She hadn't appeared, yet Christopher hadn't even sent a servant to look for her. Her sulking and stubbornness suddenly seemed rather pitiful. Resolutely, Anya rolled up her sleeves and began to pull out the flower stems that had been so cruelly ravaged they were unbearable to look at. Thorns pricked her palms, drawing blood, but Anya, who had once been terrified of pain, now looked on numbly without a sound. Ruined was fine. She was leaving anyway. These things would only be a burden if left behind. She worked until midnight before returning to her room. But as soon as she opened the door, she saw that tall, elegant, and slender figure. Christopher Sterling was standing by the balcony of her room. He wore a black mock neck sweater and dress pants. His shoulders were broad, his legs long. The sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, revealing a section of his arm that was fair yet defined with the mature lines of a man. Christopher's eyes were half lowered, their color beautiful, the corners hinting at a cool, detached distance. He stood there, yet his presence gave Anya a sense of unreal fantasy. "Cry, Uncle Chris?" A momentary lapse caused Anya to nearly misspeak. She quickly corrected herself and averted her gaze. She didn't have much time left here. Anya didn't want to be punished by kneeling in the study for another 3 days. Christopher nodded slightly and gestured with his finger towards the hot milk on the table. "Remember to drink it." Anya's health was poor. She was often ill. Christopher would always find various ways to supplement her nutrition. A glass of hot milk before bed each night had been their unspoken understanding for many years. But in the last 2 months, this was the first time Christopher had brought it himself. Anya's heart, betraying her, began to race again. She knew very well she couldn't harbor these thoughts anymore, but at this moment, she still hoped to hear certain words from Christopher's lips. Christopher spoke just as she wished. However, what he said was, "Willow didn't grow up in this kind of environment. She's naive and romantic, doesn't understand the rules, and isn't intentionally trying to oppose you. Anya, you have everything. She doesn't even have any family left. Can you try to get along with her from now on?" In an instant, Anya felt as if she had plunged into an ice cavern, a chill seeping from her head to her toes. So, he had come to her himself, not out of worry or guilt. He hadn't even asked why she had returned so late. His first words were to defend Willow Goodwin. As if she had swallowed a bitter pill, the acrid taste rising in her throat almost made Anya cry out. She forced herself to remain composed, but her tone was laced with undisguised sarcasm. "Is Willow Goodwin that important to you? In your eyes and in hers, am I that terrifying?" The gentle light in Christopher's eyes faded, and he seemed to frown with impatience. "I've made myself very clear. You should think about it yourself." With that, he strode towards the door. But as he was about to pass Anya, he glimpsed the blood on her palm. Christopher's gaze flickered, and his pace slowed. Anya keenly sensed Christopher's gaze lingering on her hand. Outwardly, she appeared calm, but in reality, her heart began to race again. However, he only paused for 2 seconds before leaving without hesitation, closing the door behind him. Chapter 4. Anya instantly let out a self-mocking laugh. She really was foolish. At a time like this, what was she still expecting? Yet, memories from the past uncontrollably surfaced in her mind. She remembered when she was little and other children bullied her, bruising her knee. When Christopher found out at home, he was furious. At that time, Christopher was still like a young lion just beginning to show its strength. But he still risked offending the other party and forcefully went to their door, demanding that the children who bullied Anya apologize to her. In their circle back then, everyone knew that Anya Sterling was the apple of Christopher Sterling's eye. Let alone hurting her, even if she lost a single strand of hair, it was like crossing his bottom line. But now, he clearly saw her hands covered in wounds, yet he chose to ignore them. The contrast between then and now was simply too devastating. Anya haphazardly wiped away the cold tears on her face. She picked up the warm milk from the table and, without hesitation, poured it all down the drain. The date of her return to her homeland was slowly approaching. Anya had to arrange all her affairs within a few short days. Today, she was going to visit her dance teacher, Madame Minerva Milton, a master of classical dance. Originally, this teacher had planned to retire peacefully. However, when Christopher learned that Anya loved classical dance, he had specially sought her out. It was unknown what benefits he had offered, but he managed to make Anya her final and most cherished disciple. Although Madame Milton was strict in her teaching, she was very kind to Anya. Anya rarely experienced this kind of elder's affection and regarded Madame Milton as her own grandmother. Now that she was leaving, she had to go and bid her a proper farewell. But as luck would have it, just as she was leaving, she ran into Christopher and Willow Goodwin having breakfast. The dining table was filled with cheerful laughter. Willow hadn't been quiet for a moment, and Christopher, who usually paid the utmost attention to table manners, not only wasn't angry but was looking at her dotingly. Seeing the two of them sitting so close together, Anya's eyes stung again. She tried to pretend she didn't see them and quickly walked out. But just as she was about to reach the door, she heard that voice she detested. "Anya, you woke up so late, you almost missed breakfast. Would you like to eat with us now?" Anya had no choice but to turn around and meet Willow's smiling eyes. When Willow smiled, her dimples showed, making her look lovely. But Anya just couldn't bring herself to like her. She only found her insincere. She had just noticed that there were only 2 sets of food and tableware on the table. It meant they hadn't prepared anything for her. For Willow to call her to eat at this moment, without asking anyone to prepare more, was clearly an attempt to embarrass her. Anya managed a fake smile. "It's not that I woke up late. Strictly speaking, there are still 10 minutes until breakfast time. How come you've been at the Sterling residence for so long and still don't remember the rules here?" After all, Christopher was someone who had strict plans and schedules for everything in his daily life. And he wouldn't easily change his established plans. Sure enough, Willow shot up from her seat, her eyes red, flustered. I didn't know. I was just hungry, so I asked the kitchen to prepare breakfast." As she spoke, tears started to fall again. "I'm not like Anya, who grew up here. Naturally, I'm not familiar with the rules. I also know Anya isn't eating breakfast because she doesn't want to see me. I'll just leave." After saying this, Willow even pulled a bitter smile, as if she were greatly wronged and enduring silently. Chapter 5, Anya fought the urge to roll her eyes and was about to turn and leave. Suddenly, she heard the sound of quickening footsteps. Then, her wrist was grabbed, and Christopher's cold voice came from above her. "Go back, sit down and eat." Christopher was usually a man who rarely showed his emotions. This was the first time she had seen him so anxious and agitated for someone else. Her wrist, held by Christopher, throbbed slightly. His grip was a bit too strong. Anya looked up, meeting his gaze, her beautiful cat-like eyes filled with defiance. "Uncle Chris, I told you, I'm not in the mood and I don't want to eat." "Go back and eat," Christopher's tone hardened, a hint of anger even spilling from his dark eyes. Anya couldn't help but laugh, her gaze flickering between Willow and Christopher. Her voice, despite her efforts, sharpened. "Uncle Chris, if Willow Goodwin asked me to die, would you agree without a second thought?" Christopher's face darkened, a storm brewing. Anya was scared. She struggled free from his grasp and sat down at the dining table like a lifeless puppet. Christopher also returned to Willow's side, his brow furrowing tighter as he looked at Anya's expression. Willow tugged at Christopher's sleeve, whispering, "Is Anya angry with me? She's so frightening." Christopher immediately rebuked Anya, his cool voice laced with suppressed anger. "Anya Sterling, have you forgotten all your manners? Not even a word of apology. Is this how I usually teach you?" Anya's hands, resting on her lap, instantly tightened. She forced out a humiliated, "I'm sorry," to Willow. Willow smiled with satisfaction, affectionately taking Christopher's arm and sitting down. "Chris, I'd like some soup." With just that one sentence, Christopher immediately condescended to serve her soup. Anya's portion of the meal also arrived. A total of 5 dishes and 2 main courses. What a coincidence, they were all things she disliked. It must have taken them a lot of effort to arrange this. Willow took a sip of the soup Christopher had personally served her. Then, looking at Anya's icy face, a triumphant smirk played on her lips. She deliberately said, "Anya, these were all specially prepared for you. You have to eat every last bite." The torturous breakfast soon ended. After all, Willow was busy continuing her time with Christopher. Why would she need Anya, the third wheel? Seeing Anya hurry out, Christopher's eyes flickered, and he uncharacteristically wanted to chase after her, calling out Anya's name. "Anya Sterling, where are you going in such a hurry?" The only answer he received was Anya's indifferent back. She strode past him quickly, without even sparing him a glance. Her steps were rushed, as if she couldn't wait to leave this place. Anya was seldom so cold towards him, let alone ignore him. Even when they argued in the past, as long as he spoke, Anya would inevitably bow her head and yield. A sudden, indescribable panic welled up in Christopher's heart. His hands, hanging by his sides, quickly clenched into fists. He stared in the direction Anya had left, his gaze lingering for a long time, until Willow came to his side, cooing in her usual sweet voice. "Chris, I want to go out for a stroll. Will you come with me?" The emotion in Christopher's eyes instantly dissipated. He smiled and nodded. "All right, wherever you want to go, I'll accompany you." Chapter 6. When they arrived, Madame Minerva Milton was a little saddened to hear Anya was leaving, but she quickly came to terms with it. She lovingly stroked Anya's hair. "It's good that you can return to your homeland. It's like a falling leaf returning to its roots. Our country is the birthplace of classical dance, and I hope you will take the knowledge I've taught you and flourish in that land." Anya looked at Madame Milton's white hair, unable to guarantee if she would ever be able to return. Her eyes welled up and she said in a choked voice, "Teacher, I will miss you." They didn't talk for long. After a while, an assistant came to remind Madame Milton that it was time for her medicine and rest. As Anya was about to walk out the door, a sudden glint flashed in Madame Milton's cloudy eyes. "Anya, wait a moment," she called her back. Then she asked her assistant to bring out a box and handed it to Anya. Anya took it, somewhat surprised. After opening it, her expression changed. She was overwhelmed by the gesture and quickly shook her head, refusing. No, this is too precious. I can't accept it. Inside the box was an exquisitely made, though somewhat vintage, dance dress. This was the dress Madame Milton wore for her debut on stage. It was with that dance that she became famous throughout the land. This dress held immense sentimental value for Madame Milton. Anya absolutely refused to accept it. Madame Milton tremblingly extended her hand. Child, come here. Anya walked over and took Madame Milton's hand. Madame Milton spoke earnestly. Although you are the last apprentice I taught, you are also my favorite. I know that I may never see you again, so take this as a memento. Good child, wear it when you perform. Let everyone know that you are my most important apprentice. Anya was completely moved to tears. The pent-up grievances of the past few days, mixed with the current reluctance to part, erupted completely. Anya leaned against Madame Milton's knees, crying inconsolably. When she finally left, Anya still took the box with her. The small box in her hand felt as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. The emotional feelings hadn't yet dissipated when she heard that familiar voice coming from the stairwell behind her. Anya, you really are here. That's great. The smile on Anya's face immediately vanished. She lowered her eyes, looking coldly at Willow Goodwin before her. Willow was dressed like a little princess, exuding an air of nobility, her eyes filled with an undisguisable smile and triumph. Anya clutched the box tightly, her tones slightly cold. What are you doing here? With Christopher not around, Willow didn't bother to pretend anymore, a slight smirk playing on her lips. Is it that hard to guess? I'm here to become an apprentice. Why should you be able to learn dance from Madame Milton and not me? Anya was thoroughly disgusted, her tone growing sharper. You have no dance foundation at all. Just because you see me learning dance, you want to learn dance too. You're just a copycat, and imitations don't last long. The smile on Willow's face stiffened for a moment, but she didn't get angry. She showed none of the gentleness she displayed in front of Christopher. Her eyes were full of provocation. So what? I'm going to learn what you learn, and I'm going to take your place. After all, I'm the one Christopher Sterling cherishes now. You've had it good for so long, what's wrong with letting me have a turn? I just said one word and Christopher eagerly brought me here. The things he used to do for you, he can do for me too. As she spoke, Willow grabbed the dress box in Anya's hand. Anya frowned, instinctively trying to shake off Willow's hand. She hadn't even used much force when Willow suddenly screamed and tumbled straight down the stairs. Chapter 7, the sudden scene terrified Anya. Willow, who had fallen, instantly had blood streaming down her forehead. It was a horrifying sight. Then came a rush of hurried footsteps. Christopher Sterling arrived, alerted by the commotion, only to witness this scene. He instinctively looked up at Anya. His dark, sunken eyes were filled with an irremovable hostility, like the sharpest, coldest knife, fiercely stabbing into Anya's heart. Anya wanted to explain, but Willow's actions were faster than her words. Despite falling from such a height, she hadn't fainted and still had the strength to cry. Willow sobbed, her beautiful, tear-filled eyes looking fearfully in Anya's direction. Anya, I was just interested in classical dance and wanted to learn a bit. If you thought I was copying you and were unhappy, you could have just told me to leave. Why did you have to push me? Anya's face instantly turned pale. She looked at Christopher, her voice somewhat rushed. I didn't push her, I really didn't. She hoped to see a shred of trust in Christopher's eyes, but in the end, she was disappointed. Christopher didn't reprimand her, merely silently and carefully lifted Willow from the ground. His eyes churned with a tempestuous mix of emotions, heartache and resentment. The heartache was for Willow. The resentment was for Anya. His reaction, more than any scolding or yelling, made Anya feel worse. She would rather he questioned her than say nothing at all. Before Christopher left, he didn't forget to drop one last sentence. Take Anya Sterling back. When he said this, his tone was cold and stiff, and he didn't even spare her a glance. Tears unexpectedly slid down her face. Anya's heart was in agony. She murmured his name, Uncle Chris, wanting to chase after him, but was pulled back forcefully by the bodyguards. Due to inertia, Anya nearly fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Christopher strode away, carrying Willow, without a single look back. Anya didn't know the extent of Willow's injuries later. She was locked in a small hut in the garden and kept there for 3 days. Only 2 days remained before she was due to return to her homeland. During these 3 days, apart from eating and resting, Anya was kneeling. Her knees were swollen terribly. Her once beautiful, fair legs now looked only wretched. The servants in the Sterling household were opportunistic, treating people according to their current standing. Seeing that Anya was now clearly out of favor with Christopher compared to Willow, they treated her with increasing perfunctoriness. Irregular meals became a common occurrence. At first, Anya would cry and ask to see Christopher, but now she had quieted down. After all, this wasn't the first time. The last time was because she had recklessly confessed her feelings to Christopher. This time, it was because she had hurt Willow. The door was opened. The glaring light from outside suddenly streamed in, making Anya's eyes momentarily unaccustomed. She kept her head down. The once incredibly proud Miss Sterling of their circle was now kneeling silently on the ground. Familiar footsteps approached. Without looking, she knew it was Christopher. Anya's eyes flickered slightly, but her posture didn't change. Christopher looked down at her, his handsome face a mask of indifference, like a deity devoid of joy or sorrow. "You still haven't realized your mistake? I know I spoiled you in the past, let you become willful and accustomed to having your way, but what you did to Willow this time was truly excessive. On the very first day, I sent someone to tell you. Give Willow the item Madame Milton gave you, and I would let you out." Anya appeared silent, but in reality, her heart was bleeding with pain, bitterness churning in her chest like a raging sea. Chapter 8, Uncle Chris, Anya began, her voice somewhat dry, hoarse, and tinged with a sob. "That dance costume, it's a memento from my teacher, something very important. I can give Willow Goodwin anything else, just not that." Christopher, hands in his pockets, knitted his handsome brows. "Madame Milton has more than one dance costume. If you still want one, you can go ask her again. Besides, Madame Milton is in robust health now and hasn't mentioned any plans to travel or settle elsewhere. So why a memento? A memento of what?" Anya abruptly lifted her head, but upon seeing Christopher's cold and detached eyes, her heart trembled. The words she wanted to say caught in her throat, and for a moment she didn't know how to voice them. She almost wanted to tell him. She had found her parents, and they wanted her to go back. From now on, she would no longer have to bother him. But Anya didn't dare. She was afraid that given Christopher's current level of disgust for her, he would only be too eager to send her away. Anya clutched the hem of her clothes, still stubbornly insisting, "I will never give her the dance costume. She doesn't deserve it." A flicker of anger appeared in Christopher's dark eyes. "Fine then, you can continue kneeling." With that, he turned and walked away. Anya desperately wanted to hold on, not to yield, but listening to his merciless footsteps, her world suddenly began to spin. Cold sweat broke out on her body, and Christopher's receding figure blurred into double images. Thump. Christopher's footsteps stopped. "Anya Sterling, don't play these little tricks. To me, they're all," he started to say as he turned around, but his words died in his throat when he saw Anya, pale as a sheet, fainted on the ground. Anya, Christopher's heart instantly leaped into his throat. He rushed forward, simultaneously shouting to the people outside. "Are you idiots? Get the car ready for the hospital." In her dazed state, Anya once again smelled that unique, clean scent that belonged to Christopher. This must be a dream. How could Christopher possibly be holding her like this? She could feel the arms holding her trembling, as if in fear of something. Christopher could feel Anya burning up all over. She must have a fever. After taking her to the hospital, Christopher instinctively reached out to check Anya's temperature. However, Anya, not yet fully conscious, directly dodged his hand. She whimpered, avoiding Christopher's touch, her face clearly showing resistance as she turned her back to him. Christopher's body stiffened, and an inexplicable emotion quickly filled his heart. Christopher silently withdrew his hand, his eyelids fluttering as he lowered his gaze to hide the emotion in his eyes. His hand, hanging by his side, clenched tightly, the knuckles white from the force. Anya didn't know how long she had been unconscious. When she woke up again and found herself in the hospital, she anxiously tried to recall if what happened was truly a dream. She really hadn't fainted on purpose. Christopher must have had no choice but to bring her to the hospital. In his heart, he must resent her even more now, she thought. A pang of pain shot through Anya's chest, and she sighed softly. Medical staff pushed open the door, accompanied by Christopher's special assistant, Edward Price. His appearance usually meant he was conveying a message from Christopher. Anya's breath hitched, and she grew tense. "Does Uncle Chris need me for something?" Edward Price pushed up his glasses. "Miss, please don't worry. He just wanted the doctor to check on your condition." A simple examination was performed. It was confirmed that Anya's fever had subsided and there were no other major issues. She just needed to rest well. Only then did Edward Price speak. "It's like this. Today is Miss Goodwin's birthday party. President Sterling's message is that he hopes you can attend on time." Chapter 9, somewhat surprised and somewhat disappointed. Anya concealed the dismay in her eyes. "I'm not going. Uncle Chris's presence at the birthday party will be enough. Willow Goodwin might not even want to see me there. Besides, the doctor said I need to rest." Edward Price offered a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This is what Miss Goodwin specifically requested. President Sterling said that as long as you are currently able to get out of bed, you must go." Anya clenched her hands. Willow Goodwin, always Willow Goodwin. Was Christopher so completely at her beck and call? She asked, a hint of bitterness in her voice. "And if I refuse to go?" Edward Price said nothing, merely stepping aside. Outside stood several burly bodyguards. Anya's face paled slightly. The meaning was clear. If she wasn't willing to go, then they would escort her. And this escort would not be a dignified affair. Anya suddenly felt an overwhelming weariness, both physically and mentally. She calculated the time. She could leave tomorrow. Go then, just go. After she left, these people and these matters would have nothing to do with her anymore. Anya didn't even bother with makeup to hide her pale complexion. She got into Edward Price's car and arrived at the small mountain villa where Christopher was holding Willow Goodwin's birthday party. To be honest, Anya knew the road to this place like the back of her hand. Because every year, Christopher held her birthday party here. She never imagined it would now be for Willow Goodwin. Outside the villa, the decorations were incredibly grand. Anya gave a self-deprecating smile. The butler led her inside. Before she even entered the room, she heard a laugh as melodious as a bell. "Chris, do I look beautiful in this?" The door was ajar. It opened with a gentle push. The unexpected scene pierced Anya's heart with pain. Willow Goodwin was wearing that navy blue dance costume, smiling enchantingly as she snuggled in Christopher Sterling's arms. Something in Anya's head buzzed and then exploded. She rushed in, grabbed Willow's wrist, and pulled her out of Christopher's embrace. "Take it off." Anya's eyes were bloodshot, filled with an undisguisable, somewhat terrifying anger. "Anya Sterling," Christopher threatened. Anya ignored him, staring straight at Willow, her teeth clenched as she enunciated each word. "Take it off. Don't force me to do it myself." "You!" A hint of anger flickered in Christopher's dark eyes. He was about to step forward, but was stopped by Willow. She said softly, "Chris, you should go outside. I'll try to persuade her." Willow then winked playfully. "I know you're worried about me, but Anya is a good girl. She wouldn't do anything to me." Christopher's gaze flickered between the two of them for a moment, then he turned and left the room. As soon as Christopher was gone, the naive and romantic smile on Willow's face vanished. She let out a triumphant sneer. "Anya Sterling, I didn't expect you to have a few tricks up your sleeve. Knowing you couldn't win against me, you tried to feign fainting to gain Christopher's sympathy. But you didn't expect, did you? In his heart, the most important person is still me." Anya couldn't be bothered to get angry at Willow's provocation, stubbornly reiterating, "Take it off. You don't want me to resort to force, do you? Willow Goodwin, ask yourself honestly, are you even worthy of wearing this outfit?" Willow's smile froze, then she burst into unrestrained, mocking laughter, as if she had heard a hilarious joke. "Perhaps I'm not worthy, but Anya Sterling, your Uncle Chris already gave this dress to me." Anya's eyes widened abruptly. "You're lying." Although Christopher had come to see her, but without her consent, Christopher wouldn't do such a thing. Willow tutted, covering her mouth. "Well then, think about it. Who else knows all your passwords and can freely enter and leave your room?" Chapter 10, Anya's breathing grew heavy, a myriad of chaotic thoughts rampaging through her mind, and cold sweat trickled down her back. "You're lying," she wanted to retort loudly, but the words that came out were somewhat faint, sounding pale and powerless. In the Sterling household, only Christopher could have done such a thing. Seeing Anya's increasingly pale face, Willow's smile grew even more triumphant, and she even deliberately twirled in front of her. "See, Anya Sterling. Anything that's yours, I can snatch away, whether it's people or things. If I were you, I wouldn't have the face to stay any longer. You really are thick-skinned." Willow was in a good mood, humming as she bumped Anya's shoulder and walked towards the door. Anya felt as if all the blood in her body had frozen. A dull ache from her heart made her bite her lower lip so hard that it bled, but she didn't let go. Actually, Willow's worries were rather superfluous. She had already prepared to leave, and she would never come back. "Miss," a voice suddenly came from behind. Anya frantically wiped the tears from her face, trying her best to appear as she normally did. "What is it?" Anya's tone was cold. Edward Price handed Anya a video camera. "President Sterling said that although it's Miss Goodwin's birthday, you also need to participate." Anya clutched the camera in her hand, an uncontrollable cold sneer forming on her lips. "Is it mandatory?" Edward Price didn't speak, just gave Anya a look that said it all. Anya's eyelashes trembled, she didn't even have the strength to refuse. "I understand." She followed Edward Price outside. The scene outside was very lively. Everyone from their circle had come. Willow Goodwin stood in the middle of the crowd, like a moon surrounded by stars. Christopher Sterling watched her the entire time, the smile never leaving his face. Anya was positioned in a specific spot. She turned on the camera, enduring the twisting pain in her heart, and recorded Willow wearing the dress her teacher had given her, celebrating her birthday with Christopher. The image in the camera lens was clear and beautiful, but Anya's own vision blurred time and time again. Psychological torture, truly Christopher's most commonly used tactic. He really didn't need to go to such great lengths. She had long since dared not to love him. It was finally time to blow out the candles. Willow leaned forward, a sweet and happy smile on her face. But the next second, the dress, which had been perfectly fine just moments ago, suddenly tore open. With Willow's panicked movements, the tear grew larger, revealing her fair shoulder. Willow was terrified, frantically covering the exposed area. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Christopher, who was beside her, reacted first, quickly taking off his suit jacket and draping it over Willow. But it was too late. Many people were present, and most of them had seen Willow's torn dress. Willow was crying uncontrollably, her whole body trembling, looking as if she might faint in Christopher's arms at any second. She suddenly lifted her head, her gaze passing over the crowd, and looked directly at Anya. Willow cried out loudly, "Anya Sterling, I know you resent me, but you can't be this cruel. Today is my birthday. Now that this has happened to me, you're satisfied, right?" Anya, still holding the camera, instantly became the target of everyone's suspicion. After all, ever since Willow had entered the Sterling household, talk of Anya's dislike for Willow had frequently surfaced. Now that the situation had suddenly turned out like this, she naturally became the prime suspect. Anya's mind buzzed. She instinctively tried to explain, "It wasn't me, I didn't touch the dress." Willow broke free from Christopher and ran outside as if she couldn't bear the humiliation. Christopher's dark eyes were filled with fury and coldness as he strode towards Anya. "Uncle Chris, Anya immediately started to speak. Slap! Christopher raised his hand and slapped Anya directly across the face. Chapter 11, the first sensation was a burning pain on her face, followed by a chill that shot up from the soles of her feet, quickly seeping into her heart and spreading through her limbs with her blood. Anya clutched her face, but the teetering tears refused to fall. Her heart, it seemed, had completely shattered in that instant. She slowly turned her head. Beneath her disheveled hair, the beautiful eyes that looked at Christopher Sterling were numb and cold, as if all emotion had been extinguished in a moment. Christopher's heart skipped a beat, an inexplicable panic stirring within him. The hand that had just struck Anya was still trembling slightly. But then he remembered Willow Goodwin's state moments ago, and that fleeting emotion was once again replaced by anger. Christopher's face was cold, his eyes filled with disgust. "All these years, I've indulged you, doted on you. I know you don't like Willow, and I've been trying to mediate the relationship between you two. I can understand your spoiled temper, but I absolutely cannot accept your thoughts becoming so malicious." Malicious. Anya almost laughed out loud. Had he investigated? Was there any proof it was her? These questions stuck in her throat, and Anya found herself unable to speak them. Her lips trembled slightly, and finally, only one phrase escaped. "Think whatever you want." that numb gaze, as if looking at a stranger. Strangely, Christopher's heart felt as if it were being tossed and turned in hot oil, but he refused to acknowledge such an emotion. She had done wrong, yet she didn't even think she had a problem. Anger flared. Christopher grabbed Anya's hand and dragged her outside. He pulled her into the car, slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the car roared away like a wild beast. Anya sat in the back seat like a soulless doll. Watching the scenery fly rapidly backward outside the window, Anya clutched the seatbelt tightly. Half an hour later, they arrived at a deserted mountain loop road. Night was about to fall. This mountain was in the suburbs. Forget people, there weren't even many cars. Christopher pulled Anya out again, his tone cold and harsh. Since you don't know your mistake, then reflect on it properly here. If I don't make you suffer a bit, you won't realize your problem. When you've thought it through, then you can contact me. I will freeze your cards. Don't even think about trying any tricks. He had expected Anya to beg for mercy. Christopher knew very well how delicate she was. She couldn't bear the slightest hardship. In the past, she even needed him to coax her to take medicine. But today, she remained completely silent, as if she was stubbornly defying him. Christopher paid her no more attention, averted his gaze, and decisively got into the car. He drove away without a backward glance, leaving Anya alone on the dusky mountain. Anya leaned against the roadside railing and slowly squatted down. Her muddled brain, at this very moment, was wondering, would she even be able to catch her flight back to her homeland tomorrow? Sterling residence. The servants moved about with extreme caution. The entire villa seemed to be enveloped in a low-pressure atmosphere. Everyone knew that Willow Goodwin, the apple of Christopher Sterling's eye, had been wronged today, and Christopher was currently furious. Edward Price cautiously knocked on the door of Christopher's study. President Sterling. The moment Christopher heard his voice, he immediately looked up, his brow slightly furrowed, though his tone was somewhat urgent. Did Anya Sterling call you? Edward Price shook his head. A dark glint flashed in Christopher's eyes as he tightened his grip on his tablet. Edward Price stepped forward and placed a gift box on Christopher's desk. This was sent over by Madam Milton. She said Miss Sterling is returning to her homeland and wanted to send her one last gift. Bang! Christopher shot up from his seat. The cup beside him was knocked over and water spilled onto his most valued documents. Yet he paid it no mind. His eyes bloodshot, he gritted his teeth. Repeat what you just said. Who is going to their homeland? Chapter 12. When Anya Sterling woke up, she was lying on a soft, large bed. The surroundings were unfamiliar, but the air was filled with a comforting scent. Sunlight streamed in through the cracks in the window, casting a warm glow on her. She slowly sat up, her groggy mind replaying the events of the previous night. Anya had walked on the mountain road for nearly 3 hours, cold and exhausted. At first, she worried about encountering ill-intentioned people, but later, Anya realized she had been overthinking. In such an environment, forget people, she hadn't even encountered a single living creature. Anya had reached the depths of despair at that moment, yet she stubbornly refused to dial that familiar number. If she had to admit to a crime she didn't commit, she would rather die. Just as her body was about to succumb to hypothermia, an enlarged, handsome face suddenly appeared before her. It was a strange man, with a gentle and refined appearance. His eyes were full of worry, and he called out to her softly, "Nane, Nane? It's brother is here. What are you doing in this place? Where are the Sterlings? Whoever left you here, brother will absolutely not let them off." The man's eyes slowly reddened, surging with unconcealed anger. Anya had no strength to speak, her eyelids growing heavier and heavier. She only remembered that before she completely lost consciousness, the man had carefully lifted her from the ground. Although it was a completely unfamiliar face, when he approached, Anya surprisingly felt no resistance at all. "Nane?" A call pulled Anya's thoughts back from her memories. She turned her head. Standing at the doorway was the man from last night. Seeing her awake, the man was overjoyed and quickly walked over, holding a bowl of steaming hot soup. Brother?" Anya hesitated, her voice dry and hoarse. That single brother instantly made the man's eyes redden. A man well over 6 feet tall, tears welled up in his eyes. Charles Quinn tried hard to put on a composed, brotherly demeanor, but the slight tremble in his voice betrayed his excitement. "No, Anya, you recognize me." Anya nodded. Now fully awake, she recognized the voice that had contacted her before. Plus, the man before her bore a 5 out of 10 resemblance to her. This was more convincing than a DNA test. Charles Quinn was so happy he didn't know what to do. His usually cool, handsome face was now wreathed in a smile that wouldn't fade. He quickly waved towards the door. "Dad, Mom, Nane isn't rejecting us, come in quickly." Only then did Anya realize there were 2 other people at the door. They were a middle-aged couple. Though advanced in years, the man was refined and scholarly, and the woman gentle and beautiful. Both had reddened eyes, staring at Anya with a mixture of excitement and helplessness. Finally, Margaret Quinn couldn't control her longing any longer and rushed forward to embrace Anya. "My Nane," she cried out, wanting to hold her tightly, yet afraid of hurting her. A warm, soft embrace. Anya was stunned. Is this what a mother feels like? Arthur Quinn also walked over. He gently stroked Anya's head, tears swimming in his eyes. He said softly, "Nane, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad have brought you back to our country. We've brought you home." Chapter 13, in the Sterling Corporation office, it was time for the quarterly department report. Below, the department heads exchanged glances, none daring to be the first to speak. Today's President Sterling was truly terrifying. His handsome face was taut the entire time, the coldness in his dark eyes almost palpable. He checked his phone every 5 minutes, and each time he put it down, the aura around him would become even more frighteningly frigid. Even before, when an employee's mistake had cost them a deal worth hundreds of millions of US dollars, Christopher Sterling had never been this furious. A flurry of footsteps sounded, and Edward Price, the special assistant, hurried in. When Christopher saw him, his face darkened, and he waved the others away. "Get out!" The department heads were even more astonished. The quarterly report, a meeting Christopher valued immensely, to dismiss it before it even began. This was unprecedented. The people in the conference room left one by one. Christopher picked up his pen and tapped it rapidly on the desk, the chaotic rhythm expressing his current agitation. "Where is she?" 2 light words, yet laced with coldness and a threatening undertone. Edward Price's heart skipped a beat. Resigned, he stammered, Not found." Bang, the next second, everything on the table was swept to the floor. Christopher's chest heaved violently, like a wild beast on the verge of exploding. He clenched his fists, the veins on his arms bulging slightly. "Have you searched the entire mountain?" Edward Price nodded, cold sweat drenching his back. "We've searched everywhere. Not only that, I also went to the homes of the families Miss Sterling is closest to and asked, but she wasn't there either. I tried to locate Miss Sterling's phone, but..." Edward Price glanced at Christopher's increasingly dark face and swallowed nervously. "But we couldn't find her location." Christopher gritted his teeth, each word sharp. "Then deploy everyone to search the entire city. Not only that, keep an eye on all major ports and airports. If you still can't find her, you're all fired." "Yes." Edward Price nodded repeatedly and fled the conference room as if escaping. As the sound of footsteps faded, Christopher slumped back into his chair as if all his strength had left him. He appeared incredibly furious, but in reality, his hands were trembling slightly, and his heart was in a state of utter panic. How could she be so stubborn? Christopher had already planned it all out. If she admitted her mistake, he would have the dance costume repaired and returned to her, and he would compensate her generously. He only wanted to dispel her inappropriate thoughts. He never intended to be so harsh. Suddenly, he remembered what Edward Price had said yesterday. She was leaving this place to go to her homeland. What for? Abruptly, Christopher recalled the results of his previous investigation. He had tried to look into Anya's background, and there were clues pointing to that country. But that was impossible. He had hidden it so well, Anya didn't know any of this. Christopher frantically tried to reassure himself. Anya was always delicate. Perhaps she would run off and sulk for a few days, then come back. For so many years, they had relied on each other. Without him, her life would be a struggle. Christopher couldn't quell the turmoil in his heart. Resolutely, he rose and went to the liquor cabinet, opened a bottle of the strongest vodka, and took a large swig. The intense, bitter taste of alcohol only magnified the panic and unease in his heart tenfold. This feeling of being out of control, it was the first time he had ever experienced it. The usually proud and dignified Christopher Sterling slowly sank to his knees, buried his face in his hands, and murmured helplessly, "Anya, Anya, stop fooling around. Come home, okay?" Chapter 14. At first, Christopher Sterling still thought Anya Sterling was just throwing a tantrum and would be back in a few days. But a whole week passed, and she seemed to have vanished into thin air. Anya's whereabouts and all information about her had been deliberately erased. She had been taken to a territory beyond Christopher's control. Christopher felt a terrifying sense of being abandoned by the whole world, able to numb himself only by tirelessly searching day and night. For 5 days, his average sleep time per day did not exceed 3 hours. There were no surveillance cameras on the Mountain Loop Road, but there were at the entrances and exits. Christopher locked himself in his study and meticulously reviewed the footage of every car that passed through. Finally, he found a trace: the Quinn family from her homeland. Upon receiving this result, Christopher's face instantly turned ashen. Had they found her after all? The Quinn family was a clan with hundreds of years of history. Although they had always been low-key, they were not to be trifled with. Regardless of whether Anya had returned willingly or been forced, if he wanted to bring her back, it would be extremely difficult. The thought that Anya might never return made Christopher's eyes turn bloodshot. He clenched his fists, his breathing becoming rapid and shallow. His gaze slowly firmed. He shot up from his seat and pulled open the door, intending to leave. Unexpectedly, he encountered Willow Goodwin at the doorway. Willow had been waiting for several days. Christopher's sudden appearance caught her slightly off guard. The man before her was still handsome, but he, who had always been extremely meticulous about his appearance, now had dark circles under his eyes and stubble on his chin. This was a side of him Willow had never seen. The little bit of joy she felt from having driven Anya away with her petty tricks instantly dissipated by more than half. Willow asked with some apprehension, Chris, are you like this because you were looking for Anya?" Christopher didn't even spare her a downward glance. His thin lips parted, his voice like ice shards on a cold stone. "Move." Willow clutched her skirt, pouting slightly, putting on the same cute and endearing expression she usually did to act coquettishly. "Chris, you need to rest properly. Anya Sterling is just too spoiled. She'll be back in a few days." "Move," Christopher enunciated each word, his brow furrowed, his face etched with impatience. Ever since Willow had moved into the Sterling residence, this was the first time he had treated her with such an attitude. Willow was unwilling to give up. She grabbed Christopher's hand, tears instantly welling in her eyes, her voice trembling. "Chris, can you please not bring Anya back yet? The moment I see her, I'm reminded of being exposed in front of so many people. I really feel terrible." After speaking, she began to sob softly. Willow didn't believe Christopher could still be soft-hearted towards Anya. After all, her methods had been tried and tested in the past. Every time, Christopher would unconditionally stand by her side. She had finally managed to drive Anya away, paying such a heavy price. How could she possibly watch her return? The woman by Christopher's side should have been replaced long ago. Willow, with her head lowered and shoulders trembling, didn't have a single tear in her eyes. Sure enough, Christopher made a move. He seemed to lower his head, looking at her. Then Christopher raised his hand and placed it on Willow's shoulder. A triumphant smile instantly appeared on Willow's lips. The next second, his hand on her shoulder suddenly tightened, the force so great it felt as if he were about to dislocate it. Willow couldn't help but cry out in pain. Before she could even look up, Christopher roughly pushed her away. She was mercilessly thrown to the ground. The man's eyes were sinister and cold. "I told you, get lost." Chapter 15. Willow Goodwin's face turned from pale to ashen. The sharp pain in her arm was a constant reminder. Christopher Sterling had truly become enraged because of Anya Sterling. He had even hurt her. How was this possible? Didn't Christopher have feelings for her? Willow, refusing to believe it, scrambled up from the floor. But before she could speak, Christopher, who was in front of her, suddenly stopped and turned his head. Tears still hung on Willow's face, yet because Christopher had turned back, a hint of joy flickered within her. Her expression looked quite comical. "Chris, She hadn't finished her sentence, when Christopher's gaze towards her suddenly turned chillingly sharp. Willow was wearing one of Anya's favorite dresses. In his haste just now, he hadn't even noticed. Anya used to look charming and beautiful in this dress, but seeing it on Willow now, Christopher found it an eyesore, utterly repulsive. What right do you have to touch her things? Christopher's eyes were menacing, his clear voice laced with suppressed anger. Willow said aggrievedly, "But Chris, you were the one who said that as long as it's something from the Sterling household, I can use it and touch it as I please. Let alone this dress of Anya's, even that dance costume Madame Milton gave her, you also." Her voice trailed off abruptly. Willow completely shut her mouth when she saw Christopher's darkened face. He had always been composed and measured, especially rarely showing anger in front of Willow. But at this moment, his face had completely fallen, his expression tense, his eyes like ice. Without a shred of hesitation, Christopher directly addressed a nearby servant. "Take the dress off her. Anya doesn't like others touching her things. Remember to burn it directly later." Willow's eyes widened instantly. Watching Christopher's receding figure, she still wanted to chase after him and ask why. But she had only taken one step before a servant restrained her. She was forcibly pressed to the ground, and the dress was humiliatingly stripped off her. The further Christopher walked, the faster his pace became. Willow's words echoed in his mind like a relentless nightmare. He had truly gone mad. Why had he told Willow that she could touch and use anything she wanted in the Sterling household? Anya was the most particular. What she couldn't tolerate the most was others touching her things. An image flashed through Christopher's mind. Anya in the garden, standing opposite him, her eyes filled with desperate tears. Like a sharp thorn, it pierced viciously into Christopher's heart. It made him gasp for breath to alleviate the pain. He hadn't meant it. He really hadn't meant it. But lately, he had been acting as if he were possessed. When did the madness begin? It wasn't when Willow moved into the Sterling house, but on the night Anya confessed her feelings to him. When that girl, her face flushed red, her eyes shining brightly, stammered those words like, "I like you" to him, in that instant, the sound of his heartbeat was like thunder. Christopher was unwilling to accept that he had developed inappropriate feelings for Anya. But ever since that night, Anya's figure began to appear relentlessly in his dreams. At that time, Christopher felt he was going mad. He used various methods to force himself to stay clear-headed, constantly approaching Willow, attempting to use such behavior to suppress the fierce emotions in his heart. Yet he didn't realize that he had already hurt Anya so deeply. Christopher knelt on the ground, wretched and powerless, wishing he could grab his own hair and hit himself several times. The more painful it became, the clearer a thought formed in his mind. He had to go to her homeland. He had to bring Anya back to his side. Chapter 16, Anya Sterling had thought that suddenly moving from France to her homeland, from the Sterling family to the Quinn family, would inevitably lead to a great deal of discomfort. But unexpectedly, after a week, life with the Quinns was extremely pleasant, and she found herself smiling much more. The Quinn family treated her like a precious treasure. They doted on her, wanting to hold her in the palm of their hands. To Anya's surprise, after all this time, Arthur and Margaret Quinn had actually kept her childhood photos. Page after page of yellowed old photographs. Margaret, wearing glasses, searched them out and like precious jewels explained them to Anya. "This is when you were just born. You were premature, frail, and your cries were like a kitten's, but you were so soft and sweet, so we called you Nane. You were in poor health since you were little, and the whole family was afraid something would happen to you. We raised you with utmost care. You safely reached your first birthday, and that day was our happiest time. Your brother adored you since he was little. Everywhere he went, he would boast to others about having a little sister. Once, someone said you were skinny and small like a monkey, and he got into a fight with them later. We couldn't even stop him. The cover of the photo album had become somewhat blurry from being touched so often over time. One could imagine how many times over the years this album had been taken out by them, how many times it had been held and caressed. Anya held Margaret's wrinkled hand, her eyes warming slightly. "Mom," she said, taking Margaret's arm and cooing with shining eyes, "I'm back now, aren't I? It's okay. From now on, I will stay by your side forever and ever." Margaret nodded, her heart aching, and squeezed Anya's hand. She looked at Anya with hesitant eyes, wanting to say something but stopping. It wasn't just her. The entire Quinn family felt that Anya was definitely hiding something from them. If Charles Quinn hadn't been so impatient to see his sister and set off early, finding her through her phone's location. Otherwise, who knows what might have happened. She had been left alone in such a place, nearly freezing to death. Yet, all the information they had investigated indicated that this Mr. Sterling who had adopted Anya was a man of noble character and doted on Anya to the core. Whenever they tentatively asked Anya about this matter, Anya would always say, "I was just playing around and wandered off. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I'm back now, aren't I?" The past doesn't matter anymore. Mother and daughter were connected at heart. Although Anya said nothing, Margaret could see that she definitely had something hidden in her heart. Margaret only felt guilty for not having found her daughter sooner, letting her suffer outside, which made her so wary of others. Margaret sighed softly in her heart, looked at Anya, and tentatively asked, "Anya, now that you're back, your father and brother are planning to take a break from work. Our whole family will go out and have a good time together for a while. How about we take a trip to France? Isn't Mr. Sterling, who adopted you, there? We could pay him a casual visit to thank him. What do you think?" Hearing this, Anya's heart trembled slightly, and she quickly refused, "Let's not. He's busy with work, it's better not to disturb him." Chapter 17, Margaret Quinn wanted to say more, but Anya interrupted her with a casual excuse. She returned to her room, her heart still pounding with unease. Anya bit her lower lip slightly, her eyelashes lowered, hiding the hurt in her eyes. She didn't want to go back. She didn't want to go back and see Christopher Sterling and Willow Goodwin acting intimately, nor did she want her family to be influenced by Willow after they went. Willow had indeed left a psychological scar on her. The matter of the dance costume was still unexplainable. If they believed Willow's words and came to dislike her as Christopher once had, Anya didn't know how much pain she would endure. Anya took a deep breath. In a daze, Christopher's cold, handsome face flashed through her mind, and a small, twisting pain tugged at her heart. She still felt something, but it was no longer the heart-wrenching pain of before. She thought she had already let go. The Quinn family did everything they could to make Anya happy. To help her integrate quickly into the social circles of the capital, they specially arranged some activities at the Quinn family villa, inviting young men and women of similar age to Anya. However, due to the Quinn family's status, the young men and women were all incredibly respectful towards Anya, treating her like the center of attention. Although it was lively, it wasn't what Anya wanted. She casually found a corner to sit and rest, but unexpectedly overheard the discussion of a few people nearby. Anya didn't have the habit of eavesdropping on idle gossip. Just as she was about to get up and leave, she heard that familiar name, Christopher Sterling. Speaking of which, this little princess of the Quinn family who recently returned, she used to live with the Sterling family in France. That Christopher Sterling. I've heard of him and I've seen him. He's really handsome. I didn't expect him to have such a kind heart. If I were Anya Sterling, I wouldn't want to leave the Sterling family. After all, with long-term development, maybe she could have some other kind of relationship with Christopher Sterling. Don't talk nonsense. Christopher Sterling already has a fiancée. It's his friend's younger sister, surnamed Goodwin. They're about to get engaged. So that's how it is. That's why this Anya Sterling is in such a hurry to return to the Quinn family. Could it be that she was kicked out? Don't say that out loud. Be careful, or the Quinn family will skin you alive. The sharp, chattering voices and laughter scrambled to enter Anya's ears. She felt a wave of dizziness, and the cup in her hand crashed to the floor. The lively noise instantly ceased. The few people looked up and saw Anya. Their faces immediately paled, and they greeted Anya with flustered and fearful expressions. Anya came back to her senses. She just looked at them with cold eyes, but chose not to say anything, turning and quickly walking away. Hearing that Christopher was going to get engaged to Willow, Anya only felt some irritation and a sense of unreality, but she didn't even have the strength to feel sad. Just then, a black horse ran by. Anya suddenly felt a playful urge, changed into riding attire, grabbed the reins, and mounted it. She was skilled in many things. Christopher had taught her all of them in the past. As long as she liked something and was interested in it, Christopher would present the best resources to her. Riding on horseback felt both familiar and strange. Anya tried hard to push the complicated thoughts out of her mind, tightened her grip on the reins, and urged the black horse to run. Round after round, the speed gradually increased. Anya didn't feel fear. Instead, her mood lightened considerably. But at the next sharp turn, the horse, for some unknown reason, stumbled, and Anya, along with the horse, fell downwards. Anya was terrified. The excessive speed made her forget to even think, her body stiffening in preparation for the impending pain. As the world spun around her, she was scooped into a strong embrace. That person, due to inertia, fell heavily to the ground with her in his arms. Chapter 18, although she had fallen off the horse, the person holding her had solidly cushioned the impact. Anya was held tightly in his embrace. She only heard a muffled groan from above her head, followed by the man's chest heaving violently. He must have been in a lot of pain. A familiar scent, a familiar warmth. Anya felt as if she were dreaming, until she looked up and saw the man's face clearly. Her throat tightened and she called out, trembling, "Uncle Chris." One of Christopher Sterling's arms was numb from the fall, possibly broken, yet he still held Anya tightly with his other hand. The moment he saw Anya about to fall, Christopher's mind went blank. It was pure instinct to chase after her and protect her. Thank goodness she was all right. Thank goodness he saw her again. Hearing Anya's call, Christopher's eyes flickered slightly. He tried hard to suppress the thrill in his heart, and forcing himself, helped her to stand up. Christopher didn't dare to look at her. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his deep, pleasant voice emerged. "Are you okay?" Anya had fallen from her horse. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Someone immediately called for an ambulance. When the Quinn family heard the news, they panicked and rushed over, only to find Anya unharmed, protected in someone's arms. Arthur and Margaret Quinn didn't recognize who it was and gratefully expressed their thanks. Only Charles Quinn recognized him as Christopher, and his gaze instantly deepened. He came before the two of them, first anxiously checking if Anya was injured. After seeing she was fine, he then spoke coolly to Christopher. "Mr. Sterling, could you please return my sister to me first?" The handsome man before him, who bore a 5/10 resemblance to Anya, looked at Christopher with undisguised hostility and wariness in his eyes. Christopher recognized him at a glance. This must be Anya's biological brother, a relative with whom she shared a bloodline, but Christopher was somewhat reluctant to let go. The moment he had sheltered Anya in his arms, his heart was filled only with the relief of having her back. Instead of letting go, Christopher's hold on Anya tightened slightly. "Wait until the doctor has seen her." Charles's eyes instantly turned icy, a hint of anger flickering within them. Servants soon arrived with medical personnel. This time, Christopher had no excuse and, as if in a daze, released Anya. The warmth and fragrance in his arms departed. A gust of wind blew, seeming to carry away the last trace of Anya's unique scent from his embrace. Perhaps it was psychological, but as soon as Anya left, the pain in his arm began to assail him, causing Christopher's face to pale. He bore it silently, standing on the periphery of the crowd, watching Anya being surrounded and fussed over by many people. The Quinn family's concern was not feigned. Watching Anya smile and tell her parents she was fine, a lump formed in Christopher's throat. Suddenly remembering something, Anya turned her head and looked at Christopher. Seeing him standing alone and forlorn, she felt a pang in her heart. But she was still resentful of the slap he had given her that day, so she awkwardly said to her parents, "Dad, Mom, that is Mr. Sterling who adopted me. I call him Uncle Chris now." Arthur Quinn nodded repeatedly. "So it's him. It's all right, you go rest first. I'll go thank him on your behalf." Margaret Quinn chimed in, "He saved our daughter again today. You'd better thank him properly." Charles Quinn, however, was somewhat dissatisfied. Treating him to a meal is enough. If he genuinely cares for Nane, he wouldn't value these superficial things. But just as Charles finished speaking, Christopher's body suddenly swayed, and the next second he collapsed to the ground. Chapter 19, in the hospital, the scent of disinfectant lingered in the air. Anya Sterling stood at the doorway of the hospital room, head down, staring blankly at her toes. Charles Quinn walked over with the payment receipt and immediately noticed Anya's preoccupied state. "Nane," he said softly, approaching her. Anya snapped back to reality, her first words an urgent question, "Is Uncle Chris all right?" "He's fine. A minor fracture, nothing serious. He just needs to rest and recuperate," Charles said, pushing up his glasses, a profound look in his deep eyes. "Nane, tell your brother the truth. Is there something going on between you and that Mr. Sterling?" Anya's heart skipped a beat, but she showed little panic, shaking her head. "No," Charles sighed helplessly. "Nane, I'm your brother, you have to trust me. I know you had many concerns when you were living under someone else's roof before, but you don't have to anymore. Mom, Dad, and I, the entire Quinn family, are your strongest support. I know you've been hiding it, and you probably didn't tell him when you left that place. Nane, I heard that Christopher Sterling searched for you for a week before finding his way to us. That last sentence stirred considerable ripples in Anya's heart. She took a deep breath and smiled. It's really nothing, brother. He probably came to this country for other reasons, not for me. Besides, what happened in the past is over. I won't go back. Anya said that last sentence without any reluctance, a hint of determination in her voice. Hearing this, Charles didn't press further. He raised his hand and affectionately ruffled Anya's hair. After Charles left, Anya let out a small sigh of relief. She was just about to peek inside for one last look at Christopher. But she discovered that Christopher, who had been unconscious, had already woken up at some point. He sat silently on the edge of the hospital bed, looking at Anya, his eyes swirling with emotions she couldn't decipher. The hospital room door was wide open. She and Charles hadn't deliberately lowered their voices just now, which meant that Christopher had heard every single word of their conversation. Anya's heart instantly quickened, not out of shyness, but nervousness. She was afraid Christopher would misunderstand. Uncle Chris, Anya said urgently, what my brother and I were just saying, it's not what you think. Christopher understood Anya's eagerness to distance herself and explain. Something seemed to be lodged in his throat, making it uncomfortable and painfully sharp. Christopher paused for a long time before finally speaking, Anya, come here for a moment. Anya's pupils contracted. She thought he didn't believe her words, and could even anticipate his subsequent disgust and anger. Instead of stepping forward, she instinctively took a step back. This movement stabbed Christopher's heart even more painfully. She was afraid of him. Christopher resolutely stood up, his face pale, and walked step by step towards Anya. Anya nervously clenched her fists. Christopher stood before Anya. He spoke, but it wasn't the disgusted reprimand she had imagined. The corners of the man's eyes before her were slightly red, his tone bitter as he said to her earnestly, that day, at Willow's birthday party, I shouldn't have hit you, and I shouldn't have left you alone on the mountain. I regret it deeply, and I'm truly sorry. Can you still forgive me? Perhaps it was Anya's imagination. His tone even carried an almost imperceptible hint of humility. Chapter 20. Only then did Anya Sterling breathe a sigh of relief. She smiled and said, it's all right, it's all in the past. I've almost forgotten about it. Uncle Chris, you should rest well. I still have things to do. I'll come see you another day. After speaking, Anya turned and left without looking back at him again. Until that graceful figure disappeared at the elevator entrance, Christopher Sterling still hadn't averted his gaze. He had imagined the scene of seeing Anya again. Given her temper, if not a full-blown rage, she would at least treat him coldly. Christopher had already prepared himself for Anya ignoring him, determined to coax her back into a good mood. Yet he hadn't expected that it's all right to come so easily. Christopher knew very well it wasn't because Anya was truly no longer angry. It was because she no longer cared. Because she didn't care, she wouldn't be angry, wouldn't hate, wouldn't feel any emotion. He would rather Anya cry and make a scene than have her smile and tell him, I'm fine. In an instant, an boundless sense of desolation rose in Christopher's heart, as if he had plunged into a dark, deep sea. Suffocating seawater enveloped him, and he seemed to lose all sensation of his surroundings. The hospital corridor bustled with people coming and going. Only Christopher stood there alone, pained and powerless, allowing the waves of regret and anguish in his heart to engulf him. His phone suddenly rang. It was a call from Edward Price. The other end stammered, roughly asking when to arrange the return trip. Before Christopher left, Sterling Corporation had a very important collaboration. It could be said that this collaboration could influence the development of Sterling Corp for decades to come. Yet Christopher had abandoned it just like that. The client company had lost patience, threatening that if they didn't see Christopher within 3 days, forget this collaboration, they wouldn't even discuss future collaborations. Christopher listened quietly, finally responding with only a cold sentence. What, without this collaboration, we won't be able to eat in the future? For at least the next half-month, I won't be back. Reply to them for me. Edward Price was stunned. But not daring to provoke Christopher, he had no choice but to agree. After hanging up, Edward Price still hadn't recovered, feeling somewhat bewildered. Weren't Christopher and Willow Goodwin's marriage plans set in stone? Wasn't Anya Sterling just someone they picked up, destined to be driven away sooner or later? Christopher's current attitude clearly didn't reflect this situation. Thinking of his own previous behavior, a chill ran down Edward Price's spine. Ever since Christopher Sterling appeared, whenever Arthur and Margaret Quinn chatted with Anya Sterling, they would do so with a hint of probing and caution. Many topics revolved around Anya and Christopher's relationship, whether there was any conflict between them. Initially, Anya didn't understand, but when she saw Margaret secretly wiping away tears when no one was around, she finally realized. They were afraid that if Christopher appeared, she would follow him back to the Sterling family and never return. This feeling of being valued and cherished melted into a warm current that flowed through Anya's heart. She hurriedly assured them, saying she had already discussed it with Christopher. Before Anya turned 25, she had to leave the Sterling family, and her birthday was approaching. The Sterling family had only adopted her. This was her real home. She wouldn't go anywhere else. Only after receiving Anya's assurances did Arthur and Margaret Quinn truly feel at ease. Chapter 21, Anya Sterling estimated Christopher Sterling would need a few days to recover from his injuries and deliberately packed her schedule for those days, making excuses not to visit him in the hospital. She figured Christopher would probably leave after being discharged. Even knowing she might never see him again, she felt no reluctance, but rather a sense of relief. However, Anya hadn't expected her next meeting with Christopher to come so quickly. "Anya, your Uncle Chris said he plans to transfer his business operations to our country. I suggested he stay at our home for a while. After all, he has done you a great favor. These few days, if your Uncle Chris needs to look at company locations, you should accompany him and show him around." Margaret Quinn said this with a smile, sitting on the sofa. At this moment, Christopher, whose injuries had mostly healed, was pouring tea for Margaret. Christopher, who was always incredibly proud when outside, now appeared somewhat deferential in front of Margaret. He replied in a gentle tone, "No need to trouble Anya, I can go by myself." Anya's eyes widened. Christopher was not the type to curry favor with the powerful. Back when the Sterling family hadn't achieved its current success, even in front of the most formidable figures, he was unwilling to bow his head and flatter them. This trait of his had never changed. So Anya was a little confused and couldn't figure out Christopher's current behavior. She sat down hesitantly, picked up her teacup to hide the reluctance in her eyes. "Aren't Uncle Chris's businesses overseas doing well? If you suddenly transfer them here, it might be a bit difficult to adjust. Perhaps it's better to wait a year or so." Christopher's gaze fell on Anya, sharp and intense. He said seriously, "I've considered all these things, but now is the best time. Besides," Christopher's tone shifted, his dark eyes growing deeper, "I also have personal reasons." Anya's brow twitched, an unidentifiable emotion rapidly spreading through her heart. Somewhat vexing, until a hand rested on Anya's shoulder, its warm palm dispelling the unease in her heart. "I agree with Nane. Since Mr. Sterling's businesses are developing so smoothly abroad, suddenly transferring them to our country will definitely be inconvenient." Charles Quinn stood beside Anya, his usually gentle and handsome features now appearing somewhat sharp. "Besides, it's not appropriate for him to live at home. Nane is a young lady." "Nane?" Christopher softly repeated those two words. Charles smiled, but his smile didn't seem very friendly. "Nane is her nickname. Not only that, but our family also gave her a proper name at birth, with the surname Quinn. We're just waiting for whenever Nane is willing, and she can change it any time. Mr. Sterling, I don't mean anything else by it, but you and Nane are not related by blood. It's really not appropriate for her to keep the Sterling surname." Every word was like a stab to the heart. Christopher's thin lips tightened. He gripped the teacup in his hand so hard he seemed about to shatter it. His knuckles turned slightly white from the force. However, no one else noticed this. Arthur Quinn glanced at Charles disapprovingly. "How can you speak to Mr. Sterling like that? He is Nane's lifesaver. If the Sterling family encounters difficulties after coming to our country, our Quinn family will certainly help. Besides, there's nothing inappropriate about him living here. If it weren't for the small age gap, Nane should actually call Mr. Sterling her adoptive father." They are also family. Christopher immediately stood up, the corners of his eyes uncharacteristically red. He said hastily, "I have something to attend to, I'll be leaving first." But his steps as he walked out were somewhat unsteady. Chapter 22, Charles Quinn noticed this, a thin, cold arc to his lips as he followed him out, speaking, "Mr. Sterling, I'll see you out." Stepping out of the villa, Christopher Sterling stopped and turned to look at Charles. "Mr. Quinn, is there something you need?" Charles put his hands in his pockets, his eyes carrying a hint of threat as he got straight to the point. "Mr. Sterling, I advise you not to have any ideas about my sister." Christopher's hand, hanging by his side, immediately clenched. Charles didn't give him a chance to refute, continuing, "You don't need to deny it. We're both men. I can see clearly the way you look at her. I asked her what your situation was before. Nane didn't want to say, so I won't pursue the past. But there's one thing I know for sure. She suffered a lot of grievances while she was with you. Putting aside identity and the adoption, a man who made her suffer, what right does he have to continue staying by her side?" Hearing these words, Christopher's eyes turned crimson. He said unwillingly, "I will make it up to her. I will treat her well." "Treat her well?" Charles sounded as if he had heard a joke. He suddenly strode forward and, in a fit of emotion, grabbed Christopher by the collar. Christopher stumbled back a few steps, looking disheveled, but he didn't dare to retaliate against Charles. He was her biological brother. If she saw this, she would surely be put in a difficult position. Charles was furious, saying word by word, "Do you know what she looked like when I found her? She was lying alone on the side of the road, frozen and suffering from hypothermia. Her hands and feet were ice cold, without a trace of warmth. The doctor told me that if I had found her any later, he didn't know what might have happened. At that time, her phone battery was full, and the screen was still on your dialing interface. If she hadn't been heartbroken to the point of despair, she wouldn't have gritted her teeth and refused to call your number even when she was about to faint. Christopher Sterling, if you're still a human being, stay far away from her." Christopher's heart tightened, his eyes instantly losing focus as he muttered in despair and pain, "Impossible, impossible." He had always thought that Anya hadn't contacted him because her phone had run out of battery. He had never imagined that it was because she simply didn't want to. The scene before him suddenly changed. It transformed into the mountain loop road where he had abandoned Anya. He saw Anya crying in despair and sorrow, yet stubbornly, she refused to press the call button. Charles released Christopher, straightened his own clothes, his voice still icy. "It's dinner time. Anya is going to eat with us. This is our family time. Mr. Sterling, I will have the servants arrange your dinner separately. You understand my meaning." After speaking, Charles didn't look at Christopher again and quickly walked away. A light rain began to fall from the sky. Winters in their homeland weren't as cold as in France, but when the cold wind blew, it was still bone-chilling. Christopher stood in the same spot for an unknown amount of time, until the villa before him lit up with warm lights. They were having dinner now, surely a scene of joyful harmony. Christopher just looked up like that, his eyelashes and hair tips dotted with water droplets, his clothes soaked, yet he seemed completely unaware. The sound of dripping water came from somewhere, a soft patter, like the sound of falling tears. He thought he was going to be alone again, a solitary person. Chapter 23, Anya Sterling also didn't really know what Charles Quinn said to Christopher Sterling when he chased after him that day. Every time she asked, Charles would just hum and haw, remaining tight-lipped. However, she only knew that although they lived in the same place, Anya rarely encountered Christopher. It seemed, just as he had said, that he was only busy with his own affairs. But Anya hadn't even had a chance to breathe a sigh of relief. Charles's mind, however, became active. He dragged Anya to various banquets and social gatherings, mostly attended by young people. There were many young talents there, and he was committed to introducing them to Anya. Anya complained endlessly. "Brother, I just got back and you're already in a hurry to marry me off?" Anya looked at Charles with resentful eyes. Charles ruffled her hair. "Be good, that's not what I mean, you'll understand later." Seeing that Anya was slow on the uptake, Charles gritted his teeth, picked the most presentable one from the crowd, and arranged a dinner. But what no one expected was Christopher Sterling also came. Having not seen him for a few days, he had lost some weight. His handsome, cold face now carried an added touch of melancholy. Charles, who was about to get into the car, tightened his grip on the car door, his eyes slightly cold. "Mr. Sterling, I thought you were supposed to be very busy today." Christopher walked over with steady steps and gave Charles a polite smile. "As it happens, I'm not busy anymore." He said this as he was about to get into the car. Charles grabbed Christopher's arm, lowered his voice, and gritted his teeth. "Are you here to cause trouble? This is not an occasion you should be attending." Christopher chuckled, his eyes deep. "Why isn't it an occasion I can attend? I told Uncle and Auntie that I was coming to help you vet them. I am her uncle. If she is to marry in the future, she at least has to pass my inspection." "You!" Charles was exasperated, but he could only release Christopher. Christopher got into the car. Anya only felt a moment of confusion, but it was fleeting. However, the smile on her face did fade considerably. She gave Christopher a polite and distant nod. "Hello, Uncle Chris." Christopher's hand, resting on his lap, tightened slightly. His eyelids twitched, and he nonchalantly averted his gaze from Anya's cool, pretty face. He nodded slightly, giving a cold Seeing him revert to his former cold and serious demeanor, Anya actually felt relieved. Only when they arrived at the location did Anya realize that she had been set up by her brother. At the entrance of the restaurant, a man was already standing there waiting. He was about her age, good-looking, and when he greeted Anya, he was polite and knew his place, making people feel comfortable. Anya couldn't bring herself to look displeased and obediently followed the man towards the private room. Charles squeezed past Christopher, who was beside her, still trying hard to make introductions. Basically, that man came from a very good family, and most importantly, his parents were loving. Men from such families would mostly treat their wives well. Anya sighed softly. While the man was leading the way in front and not paying attention, she whispered in rebuttal, "Who says so? There are no absolutes in such matters. One shouldn't use the other party's family atmosphere as a basis for judgment." She didn't see that Christopher, who had been cold-faced behind her, softened his features considerably upon hearing this sentence. Christopher chimed in, "Anya has a point." Charles turned his head and looked at Christopher with a half-smile. "Indeed, you should also ask your uncle's opinion more. After all, he already has a fiancée." One sentence successfully made all three of them stop in their tracks. Chapter 24, the first person Christopher Sterling looked at was Anya Sterling. His expression changed slightly, a hint of panic in his eyes, as if he was about to explain. Unexpectedly, Anya smiled faintly. "I know, it's Miss Goodwin. I heard about Uncle Chris's good news a long time ago." Charles Quinn also chimed in before Christopher could speak. "I hear this Miss Goodwin is the sister of Mr. Sterling's friend. She was entrusted to your care, and you promised to look after her for a lifetime. Speaking of which, now that you two are together, this can be considered a beautiful story." Anya nodded in agreement. "That's true." Christopher's face instantly turned pale. He looked at Anya with some disbelief, his voice trembling. "Anya, do you think so too?" Anya turned her head away, no longer looking at him. "Uncle Chris isn't young anymore. It's time he settled down. When you and Miss Goodwin are close to tying the knot, I will send a generous gift." After speaking, Anya quickly walked towards the private room where the man was. Charles Quinn looked playfully at the dejected Christopher, chuckled lightly, and then followed, leaving him standing there alone. After meeting the man once, Charles saw that Anya didn't dislike him and arranged several more activities or dinner parties. Without waiting for Christopher to make a move, Charles would invite him along every time. This was to torment Christopher. However, Christopher went from initial pain and inability to accept it to gradually getting used to it. He would even smile peacefully while watching Anya and the man, showing no signs of anger at all. Charles was puzzled and, standing beside Christopher, lowered his voice. "Christopher Sterling, if I were you, I wouldn't have the face to continue staying here." Christopher's deep, dark eyes were calm, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Mr. Quinn, I know what you mean. You want me to back off. I don't want to pester Anya either, but I must see her happy. However, it's obvious that she doesn't seem to like this ideal marriage candidate you've arranged for her now. Do you think such an arrangement is for her own good? Anya doesn't refuse simply because she's considering your feelings." Charles followed Christopher's gaze. On the lawn, Anya, wearing a floral dress, her long hair cascading down her back, looked as beautiful as an elf. She was leaning lazily against a tree. The man Charles had introduced was enthusiastically trying to chat with Anya. Anya responded sporadically, the smile on her lips appearing somewhat cold and distant. The man, trying to please Anya, picked up the fruit from the picnic blanket, saying he wanted to feed Anya a piece. Anya frowned slightly, but looking at the smiling man, and then remembering Charles's expectant face, she felt a headache coming on. Just as she was racking her brains for an excuse to refuse, a pair of large hands suddenly descended from above, taking the fruit platter from the man's hands. Christopher, even when squatting, was a head taller than the man. His handsome face wore a devout expression as he carefully picked out the apples from the platter. This gentleman may not be aware, but Anya doesn't like apples. If you don't know someone's preferences, you shouldn't force things on them. The man was pushed aside. Hearing Christopher's words, his face stiffened slightly, but he couldn't show any displeasure in front of Anya. Christopher then handed the fruit platter to Anya, smiling gently. "Go ahead and eat. These are all fruits you like." Chapter 25, Anya Sterling thought Christopher Sterling was here to help her out of a tight spot. She took the fruit platter and smiled gratefully at him. "Thank you, Uncle Chris." But this smile didn't last long. Charles Quinn was approaching with a young woman. It was none other than Willow Goodwin. Christopher sensed Anya's unease, stood up, and turned around to look. Seeing the situation, Willow immediately ran over quickly and, in front of everyone, threw herself into Christopher's arms. "Chris," she cried out aggrievedly. Charles explained, "I happened to run into Miss Goodwin. I heard she came all the way from France looking for Mr. Sterling, so I just showed her the way." Their affection is truly strong. It seems the engagement rumors aren't just rumors. Hearing this, Willow's face instantly flushed red. Getting engaged? Could it be that Christopher had told them these things? She knew it. Although that little vixen Anya was annoying, in the end, Christopher did have feelings for her. Otherwise, he wouldn't treat her so well. Willow, in her elation, didn't notice Christopher's unsightly expression. He pulled Willow out of his embrace and, looking at her coy face, frowned with some irritation. "Who allowed you to come here?" Willow blinked, her tone coquettish. "I know, Sister Anya is angry with me. She threw a tantrum and ran off here, and you had to trouble yourself to come and coax her. But you also shouldn't have come here alone without telling me, afraid I'd get angry. Actually, I've already forgiven Anya. As long as she sincerely apologizes to me, I'll pretend what happened before never occurred." Anya stood up, a cold smile on her face. "Apologize? I'm sorry, but I don't think I've done anything wrong. I have no intention of apologizing to you." Her sharp gaze swept past Willow's stiff face, and then she turned and quickly walked away. As she brushed past Willow, whether intentionally or unintentionally, she bumped into her. Charles, not understanding, quickly followed Anya. Willow froze for a moment, then instinctively put on a wronged expression, tears welling in her eyes. "Chris, how can Anya be like this? Look at the humiliation I suffered on my birthday. Is it too much to ask for an apology?" Willow thought that even if Christopher didn't side with her, he would at least be impatient with Anya's spoiled brat attitude. Unexpectedly, Christopher turned to Willow with a cold face, his tone serious and tinged with an unyielding firmness. "I'll arrange for someone to send you back to France immediately. This is not a place you should be." Willow's crying abruptly stopped. She looked up, staring at Christopher in disbelief. "Chris, what do you mean? Why can't I stay here? And you? What's your reason for staying here? Don't tell me it's Anya Sterling. How come I heard you want to transfer all your businesses back here?" Willow grew more agitated as she spoke. Christopher's thin lips tightened, his face growing increasingly sullen. "You're overstepping. What I want to do, and for whom, has nothing to do with you. I've done more than enough by taking care of you on behalf of your brother. Don't force me to send you back myself." Willow's heart ached. Looking at Christopher's ice-cold eyes, she suddenly felt he was a complete stranger. She couldn't even understand where things had gone wrong. He had been so gentle with her. How did he suddenly change one day? Where did the problem lie? Anya Sterling? Christopher didn't want to bother with her. He left Willow, who was still lost in her thoughts, and walked ahead. Chapter 26, Willow Goodwin snapped back to reality and quickly chased after Christopher Sterling. "Christopher Sterling, you can't ignore me," Willow cried out, her voice sharp. Christopher tugged at his collar in frustration, his brow furrowed with anger and impatience, looking as if he might explode at any second. Willow couldn't care less. She tightly gripped Christopher's hand as if it were her last lifeline. Her eyes red, she tremblingly lifted her sleeve, her voice bitter and humble. "You promised to take care of me for my brother. If you abandon me, I'll die." As Willow moved, Christopher clearly saw what was on her arm. His eyes widened slightly, and he took a step back in disbelief. Charles Quinn had a gut feeling he had made a mistake. Anya Sterling's expression hadn't been good the entire way back. He was extremely anxious, coaxing Anya with soft words. By the time they reached home, Anya finally chose to tell the truth. She only mentioned that there had been some friction and conflict between her and Willow. To be honest, Anya resented Willow for touching the dress her teacher had left her, but she also felt that Willow being exposed on her birthday was indeed quite pitiful. However, this incident, she genuinely hadn't caused it. Although she now had the Quinn family backing her, Anya couldn't be bothered to settle scores with Willow, thinking it best never to see her again. Yet, she never expected Willow to chase her all the way to their homeland. Ultimately, it was Christopher's fault. Anya felt she shouldn't have taken her anger out on Charles as well. She lowered her head and said timidly, "I'm sorry, brother." That single brother instantly made Charles, who had been full of worry, beam with joy. He stroked Anya's head, assuring her gently, "Don't worry, I'll take care of these two. But how to resolve it, I respect your opinion. I indeed don't like Christopher Sterling, but without him, we might not have met you now. However, Nane, I hope you can trust us a little more. If you have any grievances in the future, now that you're home, you must speak up. Mom, Dad, and I will resolve everything for you." Looking at Charles's earnest eyes, Anya's eyes welled up. Christopher had said similar words to her in the past. Young Anya had believed them, only to end up covered in wounds. Even now that she was back home, she subconsciously still erected a high defensive wall. But now, Anya felt perhaps she should change her thinking. The Quinn family was different from Christopher. "Thank you, brother," Anya choked out, nodding. Charles took her hand and smiled gently. Let's go home." At dinner time, Christopher returned, with Willow following behind him. When Anya saw the two of them appear standing side by side, she felt no heartache as before, only annoyance. She wasn't surprised that he would bring Willow. Arthur and Margaret Quinn asked about Willow's identity. Charles was about to explain that this was Christopher's fiancée, but Christopher cut in first. "This is my friend's younger sister. My friend had an accident, and she had no choice but to come to me for help." Willow, who had been smiling, saw her smile stiffen for a moment. In the vast Quinn household, supporting one more person was naturally not an issue. Moreover, Christopher had originally done Anya a great favor. Arthur and Margaret agreed without much hesitation. After dinner, Christopher suddenly stopped Anya. The moment Anya saw him, her pace quickened. Christopher hurried after her and grabbed Anya's hand. "Anya, I have something to tell you." Chapter 27, Anya Sterling's eyes turned cold, her tone polite yet distant. "Uncle Chris, I'll be blunt. If you're here because of Willow Goodwin, I don't think there's anything for us to discuss. My parents allowed you to stay here. I think that already shows my good temper, don't you?" A flicker of hurt crossed Christopher Sterling's dark eyes. His hand, hanging by his side, tightened. He suddenly gave a bitter laugh. "Do you think she's very special to me?" Anya's tone grew angrier. "That has nothing to do with me." Christopher looked at her in different expression, a wave of bitterness rising in his throat. He wanted to explain, yet felt he didn't know where to begin. A profound sense of powerlessness enveloped him. "Anya," Christopher subconsciously took a step forward. Anya immediately retreated. A sharp pain pierced Christopher's heart. He wretchedly turned his face away, hiding his slightly reddened eyes. "I did indeed come because of Willow, but not to ask you to apologize to her. I just wanted to tell you that I must keep her by my side for now. I have reasons I can't disclose. It's not to deliberately hurt you." After hearing this, Anya was somewhat surprised, yet also found it inexplicably puzzling. Why was he explaining these things to her? Anya nodded coolly and perfunctorily. "I understand. Do as you please." But Christopher still didn't let Anya go. His dark eyes were locked tightly on Anya, as if trying to see through to her innermost thoughts. His Adam's apple bobbed, and he asked in a low, restrained voice, "Anya, do you hate Willow Goodwin because of me? Is it because I treat her well, because I indulge her?" Anya's body jolted. She then lifted her head, looking at Christopher in disbelief. It wasn't the flustered feeling of being exposed. Her bright eyes were filled with anger. Anya's chest heaved a few times, as if she were extremely angry. "Uncle Chris," Anya's tone hardened, each word deliberate, "I admit, I was young and foolish in the past, and I did some muddle-headed things. I have also reflected on this behavior, but I hope you can respect me a little. I hate Willow Goodwin not because of you, but because of our personal grievances. Why don't you go ask her what exactly she has done? Am I really that domineering? Did I push her down the stairs and ruin the dress my teacher gave me just to make her look like a fool? You watch me grow up. I don't resort to such schemes. My methods have always been overt and dramatic. Please don't misunderstand my actions, and don't overthink things." Christopher's breath caught in his throat, as if stimulated by her frankness, his eyes turning red. Anya wasn't lying. Before this, Christopher even held a sliver of hope regarding Anya. He felt that as long as Anya still hated Willow, perhaps it was because of him. Now he knew. Perhaps in her heart she hated him along with Willow, so it was just youthful foolishness. He was wrong. He had been deluding himself all along, hurting her and hurting himself. "I'm sorry," Christopher's eyes reddened, his eyelids drooping, like a flawed idol pulled down from its pedestal, exuding an aura of brokenness and sorrow. Anya couldn't understand his reaction, nor did she want to dwell on these matters any longer. She pressed her lips together slightly, her gaze clear as she brushed past Christopher. "Uncle Chris, this sorry has come too late." Chapter 28. Ever since learning that Anya Sterling was not interested in that young man, Charles Quinn had conveyed Anya's feelings. Unexpectedly, the young man had genuinely developed feelings for Anya. Being rejected, he instead mustered the courage to come to their home to confess his love and propose marriage. He sat on the sofa, confidently expressing his affection for Anya and his determination to take good care of her. Rarely, Charles and Christopher Sterling found themselves on the same side. Charles expressed disbelief. "Given my sister's excellence, there must have been countless people who made such promises to her in the past. Should we believe you just because you say so? If she doesn't like you, she doesn't like you. Don't force it." Christopher, however, added a cold, cutting remark. "You don't even know her favorite fruit. That alone shows you're not attentive at all. Your words are even less believable." The man was so flustered his face turned shades of green and white. He directed his anger towards Christopher. "Mr. Quinn is Miss Sterling's biological brother. If he criticizes me, I'll accept it. What are you?" Hearing this, Christopher didn't get angry. He merely curled his lips slightly, a glint in his eyes. "I am nothing. But alas, I am currently the person in this world who understands her best. Regardless of which aspect you look at, you and she are not a match." When Willow Goodwin arrived in the front hall, she happened to see Christopher in this state. When he mentioned Anya, it was with genuine happiness. This made Willow's heart tighten, and alarm bells rang loudly in her mind. She quickly walked over, took Christopher's arm, and cooed sweetly, "Chris, what's going on here?" Introducing a boyfriend to Anya. But then again, she's so old now, it's about time she got married. Surprisingly, this time Christopher did not shake off Willow's hand. This made Willow secretly rejoice. He even proactively took Willow's wrist. Willow's heart trembled, and she looked at Christopher expectantly. Christopher led Willow to the man. "There are many outstanding girls in this world. If you don't mind, you can get to know my god-sister. As for Anya, don't even think about it. Once she makes up her mind about something, she won't change it. Willow Goodwin is my friend's younger sister. I've always regarded her as my own sister. She can't stay by my side forever either. I see you as a sincere and trustworthy person." After these words, the atmosphere in the hall instantly became somewhat strange. Both Charles and Anya looked at Christopher with expressions of disbelief, as if they had seen a ghost. Anya's heart, in particular, was in turmoil. God-sister? Just regarded as a god-sister. Willow's face, however, instantly drained of color. Disregarding the many people present, she immediately questioned him with a tearful voice. "Christopher Sterling, what do you mean?" Christopher looked at her, his eyes candid, repeating word for word, "To me, you are like a sister. The reason I treated you well in the past was also because I considered you my sister." It was as if a clap of thunder had suddenly struck beside her. Willow's head buzzed, and she nearly lost her balance. What made her feel even more humiliated was, the man before her threw the bouquet of flowers on the ground and said angrily, "I'll give up on Anya. Fine, you don't have to humiliate me like this. My heart only has room for Anya. No matter how good or capable other women are, I won't even look at them. Willow was so angry she almost spat blood. She had actually been rejected by the man Anya had rejected. Chapter 29, sensing that Willow Goodwin was on the verge of an outburst at any moment. Christopher Sterling's eyes grew even colder, and he lowered his voice, threatening, "If you don't want me to kick you out, you can go ahead and make a scene." Willow Goodwin, you were the one who said I had to take care of you for your brother. Naturally, I also get to make decisions about your major life events. Willow laughed, and as she laughed, tears began to fall. She spoke lightly, her voice filled with endless sorrow. "So, you're doing this to me because of her?" Who her was. Christopher and Willow both knew clearly. An unnatural flicker passed through Christopher's eyes, but he didn't deny it, merely walking away quickly. People gradually left. In the magnificent and beautiful hall, only Willow remained. She looked at her surroundings, filled with unwillingness. Actually, Willow could have chosen not to oppose Anya Sterling, but she just couldn't accept it. Why, in the end, did Anya have everything, while she had nothing? Anya Sterling, Christopher Sterling, Willow muttered these two names, her tone filled with sinister gloom and madness. In the evening, Willow asked Anya to meet her. The reason she gave was one Anya couldn't refuse. She said, as long as Anya was willing to see her one more time, Willow would return Madame Milton's dance costume to her. Anya arrived at the agreed place and saw Willow standing under the moonlight. Willow stood quietly, her face somber like a phantom. Anya maintained a safe distance and got straight to the point. "Where's the dress?" Willow clenched her hands, suppressing the churning resentment in her chest. She forced a dry laugh. "Come over here and I'll tell you." Anya saw the shimmering water behind Willow. Her eyes flickered, and after a moment's hesitation, she walked over. Sure enough, before Anya got close, a strange smile appeared on Willow's face. She mouthed two words to Anya, "Idiot." Then Willow spread her arms and fell backward, simultaneously letting out a sharp scream. Splash, she fell into the water. The huge commotion instantly attracted the nearby servants and security guards. When everyone arrived at the scene, they saw Anya on the bank and Willow struggling wretchedly in the water. Anya was very calm, her beautiful eyes filled with indifference, a slight smile playing on her lips. No matter how one looked at it, it seemed as if she had pushed the person in. Anya inwardly tutted. After all this time, Willow's tricks were still as crude as ever. Soon, the entire Quinn household was in an uproar. After everyone, including Christopher, had arrived, Willow prepared to start her act. She was pulled out of the water, her face pale, eyes tightly shut, her whole body trembling. Upon seeing Christopher, she burst into tears. "Chris, I thought I'd never see you again in this lifetime. I was so scared." Christopher looked at Willow's wretched state and frowned slightly. "What happened?" Arthur and Margaret Quinn, however, appeared very calm, instructing people to send Willow to the hospital. But Willow suddenly broke free from the servant's hands, pointed at Anya, and cried pitifully. "Anya, in the past, you hated me and wanted to drive me away. It was bad enough that you did those things to hurt me. But now, just because I appear by Chris's side, why do you still refuse to let me go? What exactly will it take for you to leave me alone?" She then looked at Margaret with a mournful expression, saying weakly, "Auntie Quinn, please don't be too angry with Anya. Although her intentions are malicious, there's a reason. After all, she has always targeted me because she loves Christopher Sterling." Chapter 30. As soon as these words were spoken, the scene instantly fell silent. Anya Sterling and Christopher Sterling's expressions changed simultaneously. One was furious, the other flustered. In his panic, Christopher still remembered to observe Anya's expression, but she showed no sign of shame from being exposed. Arthur Quinn coughed in anger. "What did you say?" Margaret Quinn's face was even more somber, her eyes looking as if they could kill. Willow Goodwin felt triumphant and seemed to regain her spirits. Many people know about this. The embarrassing things Anya did for Christopher in the past. Even now, her scurrying here is because she couldn't stay by Christopher's side anymore. Willow was still trying to slander her when, the next second, a solid slap landed on her face. It was the usually gentle and elegant Margaret. Her face was flushed with anger, and she cursed word by word. "What do you think you are, daring to slander my nane?" Arthur, supported by Charles Quinn, came forward, gritting his teeth. So what if she likes him? So what if she doesn't? What does it have to do with you? Charles added coldly. Stop acting like a pitiful victim. There are surveillance cameras here. I bet you didn't know that beforehand. Willow's face instantly paled. She looked up and sure enough saw a blinking red light. No wonder Anya wasn't worried at all. Anya had indeed known all along, but she was still mentally prepared to be questioned. Yet she hadn't expected her family to stand so firmly by her side. This feeling of being resolutely chosen instantly made her eyes redden. Margaret walked to Anya's side, her eyes full of heartache as she held her hand. Nane, don't cry. No wonder you were unwilling to talk about it. You must have suffered a lot of grievances in the past. It's okay. From now on, Mom will get justice for you. I won't let anyone who bullies you get away with it. As she said this, her eyes, when looking at Willow, were filled with murderous intent. Willow's body trembled, fear flooding her heart. Knowing she had been exposed, she decided to throw caution to the wind. Even if she didn't lay a hand on me, her and Christopher's filthy thoughts are real. Those two, one is in an adoptive relationship, the other is adopted. If this gets out, don't you want your reputations anymore? Ha 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 ha. After speaking, Willow laughed maniacally. Christopher's face darkened as he stepped forward and grabbed Willow's hand, pulling so hard that Willow fell to the ground. He took a deep breath and said seriously, Uncle, Auntie, don't worry. I will handle her. I won't let her go out and spread rumors. Arthur and Margaret, however, merely gave him a cold glance, neither replying. Willow struggled, shouting at Christopher, Christopher Sterling, do you dare to swear that you don't have any ulterior motives towards Anya Sterling? As soon as these words were spoken, Anya looked over. There was no expectation, only impatient indifference. Christopher's heart ached almost to the point of spasming. He gritted his teeth, speaking words against his will. Stop spreading rumors. Anya and I only have the relationship of an elder and a junior, nothing more. I do not love Anya Sterling, understand. After speaking, Christopher had the bodyguards drag away the still cursing Willow. Mr. Sterling, Charles called out to Christopher, I hope you can understand that your presence here brings trouble to my sister. Christopher's eyes were filled with sorrow. I understand. I will move out as soon as possible. Anya made no comment from beginning to end. Even she was eager for him to leave quickly. Before Christopher left, he looked at Anya one last time. He knew that perhaps he would never see her again. Chapter 31. Sure enough, not long after moving out, Christopher Sterling received news. The Quinn family had moved. Christopher also discovered that his contact information with Anya Sterling had been deleted, except for one phone number that hadn't been blocked yet. He had long anticipated this day, but he hadn't expected it to come so soon. Upon receiving this news, Christopher sat in his hotel room for a whole day and night. He was like a statue, motionless. Edward Price called, saying that the company address in the capital had been chosen, and asked when they could move. Christopher sighed softly, as if using his last bit of strength to pick up his phone and reply. No need to move. I'll be back soon. Christopher understood that perhaps leaving was the best gift he could give Anya. There was still some unwillingness, but apart from letting go, he had no other choice. Edward Price hadn't expected Christopher to make such a choice. Slightly incredulous, he cautiously asked, President Sterling, what about Willow Goodwin? Christopher's gaze shifted from numb to icy. She'll return with me. I will deal with her. As if anticipating something. Just as they were about to board the private jet, Willow Goodwin broke free from the bodyguard's restraint. She rushed over and grabbed Christopher's clothes. Christopher Sterling, what do you plan to do to me? I'm not going anywhere. You can't leave me behind. Christopher looked down, his god-like face devoid of joy or sorrow. I was good to you because of your brother. Out of respect for my many years of brotherhood with him, I was willing to take care of you. But all along, you seem to have misinterpreted my intentions. What right do you have to touch Anya Sterling? Willow looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. She said unwillingly, Why? Shouldn't you ask yourself that? Who made you treat me so well, giving me the illusion that you liked me? Since you had no feelings for me, you shouldn't have acted that way from the beginning. You deserve this now. Willow's curses grew increasingly harsh. Christopher, however, didn't get angry. He sneered, I was good to you to make Anya Sterling stay away from me. If she and I developed any other kind of feelings or relationship, we would inevitably be condemned by everyone. Do you understand? Willow's eyes instantly turned dull. Her entire being seemed to have lost its spirit. What else was there not to understand? So, his kindness towards her was also for Anya's sake. Then what was she? A joke. Her mind buzzed, her ears filled with all sorts of chaotic noises. She heard Christopher instruct that after they landed, she was to be sent to a sanatorium on a remote island. It seemed like care, but in reality it was no different from imprisonment. "Why?" Willow murmured. She repeated this "why" many times. But no one noticed, and no one noticed that the look in Willow's eyes as she gazed at Christopher slowly became increasingly crazed. Before boarding the plane, Christopher paused for a moment. Edward Price knew what he was thinking and, eager to take credit, spoke up. "President Sterling, with our capabilities, we can find out the Quinn family's current address as long as you're willing." Christopher's eyes flickered slightly, then he gave a bitter smile. No need. She didn't want to see him, so there was no need to be a nuisance. Chapter 32. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Under the loving care of the Quinn family, Anya Sterling's life was like being steeped in honey. However, ever since distancing herself from Christopher Sterling, Charles Quinn was no longer in a hurry to introduce boyfriends to her. Instead, whenever he saw someone trying to get close to Anya, he would become extremely vigilant. Any banquets, any events, Charles would accompany Anya to all of them, watching over her as if she were the apple of his eye. Anya was torn between laughter and tears, but she didn't mind because she currently had no thoughts of dating. There were too many things she needed to do. After experiencing all that, she really didn't want to waste too much time on such illusory matters. After all, the courage to love someone fiercely in one's lifetime once was enough. Anya went to graduate school and was now about to graduate. The Quinn family also, surprisingly, wanted her to start taking over the family business. When she first found out she was going to take over, Anya was also a bit dazed. She also worried that Charles would mind. After all, she had only just found her brother, and she didn't want to create new rifts with him over money, power, influence, these worldly possessions. Unexpectedly, her brother was actually eager for Anya to take over. Charles had already established his own businesses long ago. Having to take care of the family's businesses as well, he found it too tiring. Anya originally thought that since she hadn't studied these things, it would be very difficult to get started. But unexpectedly, she seemed to have a natural talent for being a commanding female CEO. Everything went surprisingly smoothly. She seemed to be born with such an ability. Besides these family businesses, Anya also didn't forget her initial dream of dancing. She diligently tried to live a fulfilling life, striving to shine in her chosen fields, and, of course, trying hard to forget Christopher Sterling. However, occasionally, she would still think of Christopher. Each time she thought of him, the long periods of distraction gradually lessened, and she managed to reconcile with herself. During holidays and festivals, Anya didn't forget to send Christopher a message of greeting. But strangely, there was never any reply from his end. He was, after all, the person who had raised her. There would still be some lingering concern, even if, now, it was all just familial affection. Anya mentioned going to France to see Christopher, but Charles was unwilling. "Anya, it's not that I want to stop you, but back then, Mom and Dad made an agreement with Christopher Sterling. Once you returned to the Quinn family, you two would never see each other again. However, Mom and Dad also gave him a very good project, which will elevate Christopher's career to a new level. This was a transaction and also Christopher's wish." Regarding this, Anya, though a bit disappointed, was not surprised. After all, in Christopher's heart, she had never occupied the first position. In his heart, there were always too many things that required her to make way, but this was also good. Just knowing the other person was safe was enough. Whether they met or not wasn't important anymore. After deceiving Anya with an excuse and seeing her leave, Charles finally breathed a sigh of relief. The assistant cautiously inquired beside Charles. "President Quinn, when will you tell Miss Sterling the truth?" "Mr. Sterling has long," Charles sighed. "I'm not saying anything because this is what Christopher Sterling wanted. Our Quinn family owes him a debt. For the sake of him having taken care of Anya, I will keep this secret for a lifetime." Actually, 3 years ago, on Christopher Sterling's private jet back to France, a crazed Willow Goodwin pulled out a knife and stabbed all the crew members. The captain died from blood loss. Apart from Christopher, there were no survivors. Although Christopher survived, he was living a life worse than death. 80% of his body was burned, and his leg was broken. Christopher Sterling, who had been proud for so many years, ended up in such a state, a truly lamentable fate. The Quinn family also did everything they could. They sent specialized personnel to take care of Christopher, striving to ensure that the rest of his life would not be spent in pain and misery. Another late autumn arrived. Christopher Sterling, heavily wrapped up, pushed his own wheelchair into the garden. Before him, the flower bed where pale purple roses once grew was still there. But no flowers bloomed anymore. A stray cat from who knows where was rampaging wantonly in the garden. Christopher was anxious, agitated, yet powerless. His vocal cords had been damaged by the fire. He couldn't speak to scold the stray cat. Helpless, he could only struggle to stand up by himself. But unable to stand at all, he wretchedly fell to the ground again. Christopher crawled over bit by bit. The stray cat was scared away. He touched the soil in the flower bed, closed his eyes, and smiled with satisfaction. As if he had returned to many years ago, when he and Anya planted roses together in the flower bed. At that time, Anya was right beside him, her eyes shining brightly, her charming face flushed, smiling shyly. But they could never go back.